First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Yesterday we learned, or earlier this week we learned, there's a new documentary that is coming out, and it is Girls Gone Wild.
Oh, I saw this.
Yeah.
When I was a teenager, they had a documentary on this, too.
Well, this is a whole story about the explosion of Girls Gone Wild and how it actually came back there. There's a lot of this where many girls would go off to spring break or whatever. They're 19, 18, some cases 16, 17.
Oh, boy. That's
underage.
That's trouble.
Drinking, showing, taping, and then the family finds out. It turned really, really bad. Or they're trying to get a job or get into college. It was very difficult. So we learned, and I thought this was an interesting tie-in from up front, the front office here at Town Square Media. Bill Bartlett is with us right now. William? Bill, good morning.
Me on, yeah.
So we learned, correct this if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. You were one of the salespeople,
Yes,
who took orders selling.
That is correct. In addition to a number of other things, I worked for a company that took orders for a lot of the things you see on infomercials at night at like 3 in the morning. So whenever they'd say operators are standing by, it was
You
me.
were standing by.
I was standing by. Me and about 300 other people in a big room. And so between like 2000 and 2003, I took at 3 in the morning. We'd get a lot of calls for Girls Gone Wild, a lot of other things. There was herbal Viagra calls. We got calls for stuff like that as well. But Girls Gone Wild was very popular in that period of time with a very particular, older man who didn't.
I was going to ask you, so whose profile? Give us the profile.
Well, working third shift at a call center like this, you got a lot of older folks, just people who are watching TV late at night and they see these things and they call in. So we got a lot of older gentlemen who just didn't understand the internet at the time. It was a little harder to get on the internet back then. No pun intended. And so if they wanted to get their wild girl, they had to call an 800 number. And so that was me.
And then, by the way, and then wait for the DVD to show up. Yeah. I mean, it was.
And honestly, that's where it was. The other end with the girls. It's very dark. And that documentary is probably going to be very interesting.
And you had nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with that. But what we did was when these folks called to order their DVD or VHS, they didn't realize they were getting signed into an enrollment program.
Oh, my God.
It was like Columbia Music House only for Girls Gone Wild.
This is like the digital, you check this box because you read the terms of service.
Yes.
But this was before the internet and those digital terms of service.
We had very long page of green text that we had to read. And if you read it all, the folks who wanted their girls, they weren't listening.
They didn't care.
They didn't care.
They don't care.
So you get to the end, you go, is that okay? And they're like, yeah, sure. Yeah, great.
Send the DVD.
Yep. Yeah, because otherwise you're not getting it, and they want it.
Right. So the other type of calls we got were from folks who were calling to try and cancel the Gone Wild, which my company didn't handle. We purely handled the orders.
Where was the company? Where were you?
So the company I worked for was called West Corporation. They were, I believe, located in Omaha, but I was working out of Erie, Pennsylvania. They had call centers around the country.
I got to tell you, call centers are. We had what was the company that was here? In the Boston store building. My son out of college was having a difficult time finding the right job, and I said, I'm telling you, I did an interview with them over at the Boston store, and they're hiring. They'll hire you tomorrow. And they hired him. Now, that was different because you probably got some of the negative people angry because they've been
100%,
they subscribed, and they were doing cell phone customer service over here.
Right.
So he did 2 weeks there and came to me and said, I got a job. It's in Denver. I'm leaving. And that inspired him so much to get, because it's a tough job.
It's really difficult, especially at like a third shift job like that, where
yelled at.
You've got conversions that you've got to keep up, and a lot of prank calls and a lot of hang-ups, especially, and ladies working at third shift, they're getting a lot of perverts, especially if they're taking orders for Girls Gone Wild.
Gone Wild.
So third shift was a little crazy in that regard. But yeah, it's grueling working in a place like that. You're getting called. You're taking 300 calls a night, and it's Girls Gone Wild and everything under the sun that you can imagine off of the television at 2 in the morning. So yeah.
So when they say operators are standing by,
oh yeah, Oh, yeah.
I do like it when there's a countdown and they're like, the next 20 calls will receive. And I always just wanted to get like 50 people there to call and order. Because there's
you'd be
thousands of
the number of folks who'd call in and go, did I make it?
Did I
cut it?
Yeah.
Did I get the cutoff? Did I get in the deal? And they're, you're getting the deal.
You just made it.
Oh, are you serious?
Oh, yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's all crap.
Yeah.
Well, no, I
it
always
was
thought
the
they would.
APAC building.
APAC, thank you.
They would say, and you even hear this in commercials now, the first 200 calls get while supplies last. So I thought even if you were the fourth caller, they would go, well, we've run out of stock on that.
You only
it was just something to lure you in.
Oh, no.
But you would call and they would give you that.
Yeah.
So you would feel like a winner.
You're getting it anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Because think about it. They're placing these commercials all over the country to run at random times. Right. It would be impossible to be like, all right, we just started the timer.
Yes. No, I
mean, it just, you got somebody up on Smith Hill hitting, and they don't even hit it. It's all automated anyways.
But I always thought it was the opposite way, where they would say, the first 200 people get this, and it's a prize that is worth you calling in. But when you call in, even if you're the first caller, they're going to say, sorry, we've already had 200 calls. So it was like a fake not a fake advertisement, but
it's like a fake immediacy. It's a fake prize. What is real, though, is when watching QVC or one of those, they really are live. That is, and when you're watching those, they are very interesting, too, because they have an algorithm, everything. The minute something isn't selling, boom, they pull it and put something else in. It's really a brilliant mathematics accomplishment, what they do.
I think with the infomercials, and they just don't want somebody to say, oh, I guess I don't want to spend the money.
Right.
They want to take your money. They want your credit card number.
Yeah, and my guess is if you called, what is the close rate on that? It's probably nearly 100%.
For certain products, absolutely. For some things, they're like, you get a lot of things where somebody will call in for like an exercise product or something like a Bowflex or something like that. I don't know how many people were actually buying those.
How did you know what they were calling for?
So the telephone numbers that they called in on would ring up to a list of like 5 to 8 different products.
Okay.
And so we had to ask them what they were calling for, but we only had a limited selection to see what they would be potentially calling for.
Wow. So. And the perverts calling up for Girls Gone Wild. These and now we find out that many of these girls were 16, 17 years old. Oh, it's going to be an interesting documentary, though.
It sure will. Yeah.
All right, Bill, thank you for the insight into that world.
Thanks for having me on.
Very cool. Thank you so much.